opportunity is there. And rail cars, which is the method of choice for RWE and Green Circle in Florida. Some of the logistical or transportation factors influencing our decision making. Well, for raw materials, somewhat insulated on fuel increases. It's a really market onto itself, and I love it. It's what I've been doing for 15 years. The wood business, whether it's trees, sawdust, or chips, is very much driven by relationships. It's not very advanced at all. When fuel prices increase to the degree that they do, my raw material prices have started to go up. But I have to, it's better to have a supplier force where you're dealing with multiple suppliers to buffer yourself and to minimize risk. But as the fuel prices go up, I've got to pull in, and so it leaves me susceptible to more risk, but we have to do that. So any transportation efficiencies would certainly help. Fuel surcharges for the pellets hauling to the port, that's the middle picture there. That's an automatic. There's no way around that. I've got something in here. When we first started up and getting our mill going, our dryer system wasn't working, and so we were making pellets with dry material, and we didn't have enough volume to justify loading a vessel. So we shipped over 100 containers to the port and generate some cash for obvious reasons. Understand there's a weight restriction difference, and if you're loading containers, you have up to 100,000 gross pounds, but with our chip vans hauling, the weight restriction is 80,000. You know, when we talk about incentives, tax incentives, or anything like that, here's an automatic right here. You know, I have that on the bottom there. It's worth if that change was made and we have a permit or we were allowed to haul that 100,000 pound gross weight, we're 341 straight to the port, that'd be worth $800,000 a year to our company, and certainly would be reinvested. Some other ideas, you know, some crazy. I can't imagine seeing this driving down 341, but it's just trying to think outside the box. Alternative fuels is another thing, and I see when we talked about pellets moving to being a commodity, the European buyers are very savvy, and I think everyone in the room understands that the whole driver for the pellet industry is to minimize greenhouse gas emissions in Europe. They, when they audit us, they keep track of everything for like the average haul distance of the raw material to our plant. And then they score us based on the amount of emissions that we emitted in making the pellets and getting them to Europe. So anything in terms of alternative fuels, you know, it's a great idea right now when you consider the cost of diesel fuel, but for other reasons, it is a good idea to consider. I've even tried to sell Norfolk Southern on the idea of, you know, put in a sidetrack for us, and we'd let them have our pellets to burn to generate steam to travel down the railroad. I thought it was a great idea. I told them it would be a great marketing opportunity for them. Railroad resources, their rates haven't been competitive, but I guess I would say in the last couple of months, both CSX and Norfolk Southern are becoming more aggressive and looking into the business. Case in point, John over there has got a new title, right? Biomass. What?
Business manager.
Yes, and all of them are very aggressive to get into the business. There is a reluctancy towards long-term agreements. That's a problem because to make the investments to build the pellet mills, and also the European buyers want long-term commitments. So it's very important to try to join all these commitments up together where they're overlapping. It is possible to do a 5-year. That would work. It's very expensive on the front end for the rail spur. As far as looking for opportunities, I've talked to the railroad about it, but they don't say no, but they don't say yes either. And that is, you know, if we found an opportunity to put in a rail spur at our current location, and if they would come up with some creative way to help finance that, especially today and where fuel prices are, we would be certainly very interested in that. We're looking at expanding. And I can just tell you that when we do, it will be on rail, and it will be further away from the coast. There's a lot of demand for wood near the coast, and the prices reflect that. Barge transportation, real quick, there's a slide there, top left of midstream loading. That's on the Mississippi River. Port storage and infrastructure. I hope there's no one from the GPA in here. Is there? Okay, I'll be careful. You know, I told you we started in 2007. Our first vessel was loaded out of Savannah at the old clay terminals, and we were seeking a home. Made good sense, Brunswick. There's the draft limitations, but I'll tell you, it was very hard because there were so many other announced pellet mills, ideas, people running around just talking. We were there, but if you know who Rodney Dangerfield is, you know, we kind of felt like, you know, we didn't get any respect, right? Because we were not the big volume that everyone else was talking. What we're hearing now, we're in our third year and we continue to expand. And I'm not bragging, but we have a very good reputation in Europe. Storage prices at the Port of Brunswick right now, they're higher than what we could get in Savannah. Look at what RWE did, and they joined up with People's Industries as a private terminal. Very streamlined. Both parties are extremely happy with what they got. I will say, to GPA's credit, things are changing. I would tell you within the last 2 months. We're working closely together, and I think possibly by the end of May or June, we'll have something concrete where we're moving ahead. It's important in the infrastructure at the port and investment, self-heating. If you don't know about it, you need to look at it. If you're thinking about making pellets, it is a very serious problem, and it causes pellet degradation, and it's not related to biological heating. It's an exothermic reaction. Don't worry, it's not going to catch on fire. It just causes the pellets to degrade. And fines. Currently, our situation at the port in Brunswick, we handle pellets 4 to 6 times from the time we make them, which is just horrible. Degradation to the pellets contributes to fines, and the specifications on fines to Europe is stringent. Now, this ocean freight, private owners, pirate owners, my boss has it in there. He deals with them, not me, but they're very tough to deal with, the vessel owners. And it's really interesting because it's not really, when prices go up, it's not a function of fuel. It's really supply and demand of these vessels. We have to use the smaller vessels because the draft in Brunswick, we're making plans. They're going to dredge there, hopefully. So it allow us to have the larger vessel. The larger vessel, more cargo, means less expensive. You know, and all of this, the things I talk about, it just makes us more competitive. You can see in the ocean-going freight rates in 2005, when Mr. Per Annenberg was all interested in making pellets, you look and see what the freight costs were to Europe. And now, in 2008, that was its highest mark. It's dropped now to around $35 a ton. That's a metric ton. There are destination issues, but that's Rotterdam here you're looking at, but that's for those guys, right? Market outlook. The global consumption today is 12 million tons. In 2007, it was around 8. The Europeans produce about 6 to 7 million of their own. It's real interesting how wood the wood dynamics and flow in Europe has changed. Germany was exporting a lot of its wood to supply Italy and the other countries where the wood resources wasn't there. Well, now they're using all their own. The demand for wood pellets is expected to double by 2015. All indications are it surely was slow. It was some long years there in 2008, 2009, but we see that materializing. And we think it's because there was so much advertisement, so much announcements of wood pellet mills being constructed that the buyers were sitting on the fence waiting to see, and you know, we all slit each other's throat and see who would get the lowest price. That's not happening, and so the demand is catching up with what's available, so the buyers are starting to become more serious. What's important to Georgia is that the opportunity for wood pellets is all along the East Coast and somewhat in the Gulf Coast, from Mobile all the way up to Norfolk. So if we want to be in this business, exporting pellets, which has further implications all the way to the Georgia resident, owning pine trees, we need to be serious, and anything we can do to be competitive against our sister states. Thank you very much.